Isn't football great? The results are great. The kids are great. The standard of play is fantastic. It's a real glass half full edition of Neds AFL Unpopular Opinions. Hello, everyone. My name is Dylan Leach. Joining me like he does each and every single week is everyone's one-time Supercoach captain and now gymfluencer, Tom Rockcliffe.
Yeah, not quite. Thanks for having me, Dill. Exciting first round of footy, and I mean, that's the way we should open the season. I think we're going to have 9 games.
That's a radical idea. I'm not sure if that'll take off. And, two-time first goal kicker in a grand final, Alistair Lynch.
Oh, yes. It was a long time ago. Missed the first one in the grand final as well.
Yeah, but you kicked the first one in the grand final.
Still right.
I still pay for that.
What a round. Do you reckon, though, with the AFL insane, how successful this week was because we had the false start last week? Because it was 480,000, so record first round. Because everyone was frustrated and everyone's that pent-up tension to get the footy back on. They've got a record crowd.
Of course they will. The AFL's never been wrong. It's the only organisation in 150 years or whatever they've been around, never been wrong.
No.
They have got the Arthur Fonzarelli way of doing things at the AFL. They just can't admit they were wrong. Very good call. It is a very special show this week here on AFL Unpopular Opinions.
Why?
Well, we want to help out the clubs. We're all about helping out the game and helping out the clubs. And I know Carlton cancelled their membership day on SEN last Friday, but this is a very special edition of AFL Unpopular Opinions because it's our Carlton membership day here on the program today. So we've got
to just declare who you actually barrack for.
No. This is just we're just trying to help out the Blues.
Oh, yeah.
We want Carlton fans to sign up, and they've got some fantastic membership specials here at Carlton. They've got a 3/4 time membership. So that means that your ticket expires at 3/4 time, so you can leave. I know
this
that's
is the guy that left at 3/4 time last year.
Yeah,
through your
great value.
Through your duffel coat.
Yeah. Well, that's great value. So you Carlton fans, that's great value membership
your Jimmy
ticket.
Jess duffel coat you just chucked away.
There's also
now you're hanging shit on them.
There's also a 4-in-1 membership, which is a bit like when you go to the cafe and you've got your little stamp where you get a free coffee. Yeah, for every 1 in 5 coaches Carlton sack, you get your membership for free that year. So that's sensational.
Nice.
And the other one,
you're getting rid of Vossi now, are you?
He's a premiership
we might just
teammate.
Distance ourselves from this comment.
Yeah, and also the next one actually has a 30-year waiting list. That's not because of demand, but just because it's just practical, and that's just for a grand final ticket guarantee at Carlton. So if you do want to join the Blues this year, the numbers are 1300 736 736 and ask for Dwayne, or 1333 693 between 3 to 6 weekdays and ask for Tom, or visit bigfooty.com. So Carlton fans, sign up now.
Yeah, you're
not bad. He's gone whack.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good.
And you were down there?
I was.
Basking in the glory?
That is one of the best home and away wins I've ever seen.
Oh, it was actually great to watch.
Unbelievable.
Where they were, and good to see the young kids do well.
Sammy Lawler.
But in saying that, and one of the other games we'll get on to later, the West Coast, it's not about the young. I mean, for us, post-game, it's about the young kids because they were exciting and you think, well, there's the future. But you need your older blokes to stand up. And that's the Richmond experienced players did well. I thought their midfield were very good.
Yep.
Solid as a rock.
Jack Ross was outstanding.
Probably his best game.
Yeah, I would say that. His best game, I thought, was originally his first game.
Yeah.
Which Tom played in back in the day. Jack Ross, he's been on our list for 8 years now, and now he's a seasoned veteran just because...
Hopper?
Yeah, Hopper was outstanding.
Did some good things. Taranto did some really good things.
Ben Miller.
The best. The skipper was the best.
Yeah, Nank.
Yeah. Oh, and he was best on ground. I mean, it was a great contest, but he was best on ground. The way he influenced that game. That was the best part of it for me.
It was also the use of Camden McIntosh. Like, he spent some time on the bench during the last quarter because he needed to rest up, and it was like, rather than just exhaust the older blokes, it was use them when they were best available and could best lead. And also, for the experienced Richmond players, it wasn't their first time playing in a big game. They know what to do. They know how to handle the pressure. And, yeah, I just think I mean, obviously I'm incredibly biased here, but that is as good as a win you can have. If it's the only win Richmond have all year, then it's bloody worth it. But that was a sensational way to start the year, and it should have been the season opener.
How quick did you get back to the ground? There was a whisper you left sort of halfway through the second.
I
So it was 41 points the diff, and you've left.
No, we're still covering the line.
Can you cancel Uber without getting one-star rating?
Yeah, that's it. Well, I gave the Carlton fans tips on how to leave the ground early, actually. So
That's it, wore on.
You know what? We spoke about it last year, and SEN do it very well. Blues Radio.
Oh.
How good would have Blues Radio been if that was on?
There was nothing better than, I think, the first final last year, sitting next to them in Triple M box.
Oh, yes.
Halfway through the second, when they still hadn't scored. He was crying. Cooter's in there. Cooter didn't know what to do.
It is very entertaining.
The fact that there was because word got out on Thursday night that it was Carlton's membership day on SEN, there were people just salivating that they were going to be tuning in, listening to Carlton's Spruik memberships, and then they cancelled.
So have they, I know it's only one game, so you don't want to jump to conclusions in round one, but have Carlton got it wrong? Like, they got rid of some of their good forwards and role players. Kennedy finds himself, who I thought was serviceable. We've seen him get
Good depth player, wasn't
subbed out halfway through the second quarter last year in that final. Was it Owies? Owies
Owies
got resold as well. So, I mean, they'll be back to the drawing board, and you don't want to make conclusions after round one, but they need to fix whatever it is there. Like, you can't have Paddy Cripps rucking as much as he
that
is.
looked dangerous. Well, not that he was up against a big bloke, but just why put him there?
Are they too reliant on Cripper? It just felt like they were way too reliant, and they kept just wanting to bomb it long. I think they had, 25 odd more inside 50s.
Well, if someone
than
presented,
Richmond.
They just dropped off.
Yeah.
If someone presented you with the stats, you say Carlton win that game of footy. But
absolutely.
Again, goal kicking cost them. They had their opportunity. Even the start of the last, if they had nailed their set shots, they'd probably win.
We'll get on to, I'll ask you later in the program today, we're going to do a thing called Best and Worst, and we'll talk about unexpected wins and losses from careers, because I think we always talk about winning finals and the big games, but those unexpected ones, there's something really special about it, no matter where you're at in your footy career as a player or even just a fan, because fans will always remember these sorts of games, no matter what comes after or before. But moving right along to the rest of the weekend, I do promise you that we're not devoting the entire program to the Richmond-Carlton result. What did we get out of the weekend? What's an unpopular take from round one? 9 full games. Everyone has played now. Some teams have played more than one game.
Well, don't get carried away with just one game.
No,
That's reasonable to...
No, but I'll hang my hat on that for the rest of the year.
Now, I'm not backing away from it. The Gold Coast, I'm very confident they'll improve this year, but I didn't have them in the 8.
Yeah.
I know they were playing the West Coast Eagles, but they look good.
They're the most balanced.
They look very good. I mean, the power of Rao in the middle of the ground, Rioli and Noble coming off halfback made a hell of a difference. And Ethan Reid up forward. Now, I think that's a really interesting one on a number of aspects. Ethan Reid looks like he's obviously a huge athlete, but looks very talented, a talented footballer as well. What I'd be doing if I was Jed Walter, who missed on the weekend through suspension from last year's VFL game, so maybe he was going to play. If I was Jed Walter, I'd be going to Dimmer and saying, with Ballard injury as well, I'd be going and saying, I want to play centre-half back. I think Jed Walter has got a great opportunity to be an outstanding centre-half back. He might still see himself as a forward in the future, but I think it would be great for his development over the next couple of years. I know Mac Andrew will come back into the side next week, but ideally Mac's at your third tall. Now, if Ballard's going to be out for an extended time, we haven't got the results on his knee injury at the moment. Jed Walter going to centre-half back could really cap off this team and fill a big void from Ballard going out.
I think they're the most balanced they've ever been.
Yep.
You speak about their defence. Collins is a lockdown. You got Noble, Rioli off halfback, Powell as well. Their midfielders are as good as anyone in the comp, I think. Anderson, Rao, Miller, and their ability to get forward now and hit the scoreboard. And then if King can get going, they're dangerous in that front half. So
Weller's back into the side. Yeah, so they're
Bailey
very
Humphries, I think he'll be a star.
Well, he started first bounce, I think, in the centre. So, like, obviously he's got to get his aerobic capabilities up. But, yeah, he looks like he can add a string to their bow there going forward. So, I think very encouraging signs. Again, don't get carried away with 1 week.
But they
did look different. They look better.
Well, it looked different. That jumper, you couldn't even see the Gold Coast. That jumper was
well, that's the worst part of their pre-season. The jumper's not great.
Yeah, no, not their best. Does it kill the momentum, though, now that they've sort of had a big win to start the year and they've got to have a bye now? They're not playing this week.
I think we've backed over this a few times. I think just the inequity of the fixture is compromised by the opening round, and it's compromised even more because of the cyclone, but that to the side. But I think the Gold Coast, you talk about, the Gold Coast getting growing the game in Queensland. And I'll just fumble here quickly to have a look.
Padding.
It's what we call in the business craft, Tom.
They do not play games on the Gold Coast for a while. So they're West Coast, so they're away. They've got a bye this weekend. Then they go to the MCG. Then they're at People First Stadium. Then they play away to North Melbourne, play away to Richmond. Then they're back to the Gold Coast.
Weird.
Then they've got Brisbane at the Gabba. Round 9 is in Darwin. Round 10 is in Darwin. Then round 11's in Marvel. Then finally back again, People's First in round 12. So they don't play.
Games, yeah.
This is like GWS. Talk about compromised fixtures because of the Easter show, don't get to play there. But that's not a great draw. If you're talking about growing the game in Queensland, that is not great.
Should they no longer be playing in Darwin then?
I think they like playing up
there. They like playing there.
They don't lose.
We'll move on from the Gold Coast. I think we need to talk about Tom's old team.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my unpopular opinion
Tom.
On the blowout results. So, obviously, Fremantle, how disappointing they were. St Kilda in no man's land as well, aren't they? Like, Ross came in to take him from 9th when Ratton gets rissoled to push for that elusive flag that
they want to win. Richmond thing, when you're rebuilding to a degree and you've got a lot of your players on the sidelines, your good players, that hurts.
Yeah, and their senior players as well. Like you spoke about Richmond's senior players playing well. I don't think they stood up. And then you get to Port Adelaide and they were obliterated from the first bounce almost. They were disappointing. Darcy Byrne-Jones' 200th game has been a club servant there. He's done it all. And then to roll out what they did, I think the most disappointing thing was they got beaten by what they knew. So they tried to tag Dacos, which I think Willem Drew did a reasonable job for 2 and a bit quarters, and then they dropped it, let him get off the chain. But Dan Houston absolutely chopped them off halfback. They
probably should know what he does.
No time or energy into him, and he's probably best on ground. The way he sets it up, 10 intercepts. He's a brilliant player, and you let him. I understand to a degree why they did it because they want to get Lukosius in, but you have a player contracted for 3 years, back-to-back All-Australians. I'm probably not letting him go.
And there's, no, I think no. And you'd want to get better compensation if you were going to let him go. But I think there's on a few of the shows over the last day or so, there's been plenty of vision. The work rate, and we spoke about this off air, defensively was just not there. Yeah. And whether it's walking or jogging defensively or the time it takes to switch from offence to defence in your running was horrible. There were some shocking examples.
And Port Adelaide pride themselves on their running numbers. So there was a massive indicator when I was there, and their high performance, Stewie Graham does an outstanding job. So they'll be disappointed with that vision showing up. It can't be just a one-way work. You've got to be able to fight through those scenarios because, I mean, they have a couple of injuries, but they shouldn't be getting touched up by Collingwood like that at the MCG.
We spoke on our first program of this year, and every other program has basically addressed this. When Port has a loss like that, it's just a free hit to question the succession plan between Ken Hinkley and Josh Carr.
It's going to be questioned over the next few weeks anyway. So they got Richmond this week. You expect them to win. Then they take on the Bombers. If they lose to the Bombers, who knows what happens? And then they've got who they got after that? St Kilda. So they don't have a tough draw to start. So they potentially become 3-1. Then they take on Hawthorn, which is a big game over at Adelaide Oval. I mean, it's not going to go away all year. So I have a feeling that if they're sort of out of finals contention come midpoint of the season, I'd imagine Ken would say, well, Josh, it's your time to take over.
I don't reckon it's Ken's role to be doing that, though. I reckon the club, as they should have done 3 or 4 months ago, so we've made a decision. Josh is our new coach. And Ken, you've been unbelievable for us, but we're making a change.
So the question I would ask if I was Port Adelaide management, and I'm not, are we going to win the flag this year? I would sit here and say with the list they've got and the talent they've got, I don't think they can.
Well, I think we all had them sliding out of the 8. Now, they finished second last year, but Houston's a massive out. But I think so. We all had them sliding.
So we don't
not flag favourites.
None of us have them winning the flag. So if you don't have them winning the flag, why waste a year?
Well, unless they're ahead of us and they feel this is going to be, there's going to be some pain, the Houston ramification is going to really hurt us. So let's get Kenny to get the shit kicked out of him and get Josh to come in later, which, again, I think too much grey just clouded the whole environment this year. Make the decision. What's our decision? Who's our best coach? Although, if Ken's not it, make the call.
Well, I think they did it to take the pressure off so that they're not talking about Ken every week. And it's had the opposite effect. Like, I think that's what they did. They go, well, we've got our next coach, so let's take the pressure off. So we're not talking about Ken, are we going to re-sign him?
Although, Tom, you would know, playing for Ken, he does his best work when...
last year, a contract he normally does. Yeah, they normally peak.
So, what's an acceptable result for Port Adelaide on Saturday? It's not just a win. Does Port need to just do what is expected of them and
what's the line?
The line's 38.5.
Yeah, they have to win by at least 6 goals at home against Richmond.
Yeah, that's a big loss if they don't.
The big telling will be the crowd there.
Yeah.
Which I have a feeling is going to start to dwindle for them, unfortunately.
Dwindle.
Does
and
Port
start
have any
come back? Yeah.
Kenny again?
Yeah, well, there's already signs up again on out at Alberton Oval to see Ken and stuff like that, which he's just going to have to deal with. I suppose that's why the senior coach gets paid the bucks that they do to be able to put up with it. But Fishbowl, Adelaide, it's also for Ken, if they can come to an agreement of somewhat, he could potentially freshen up and get himself ready for the Tassie.
and that's the thing. Kenny is a career coach. He wants to stay in the industry, so it is important the way he conducts himself on the way out through this time.
On a more positive note from the weekend, I thought the performances of the likes of the Giants and Brisbane in particular proved that these teams are going to be very hard to beat, and no matter what the circumstances, and they just know how to win. I thought the Lions win on Saturday, given their
huge win
circumstances and who was out, and I thought the way GWS just kept coming to Melbourne on Sunday afternoon was sensational.
Well, we said last week that Finn Callahan franked his contract offer from St Kilda. That was unders. Geez, he was good again. And Toby Green, the way the Stars actually stood up.
The last quarter was incredible.
Yeah, it was. But the Brisbane game, Zach Bailey, we've been waiting for these sort of, like he can do 5-minute bursts, but that was better on the weekend. He's got that ability over the first 5 metres to get out into space and convert. So I thought that was really good. The downside was Brandon Starcevic.
Yeah, shocking.
With the previous 2 knocks in his last 2 games against Adelaide Crows were solid hits.
Yeah. This
one from McInerney wasn't a solid hit. It was almost not quite a grazing blow, but it's a real concern when he's got that history over the recent games. So that is a close watch for everyone because that's a major issue.
They'll be licking their wounds a little bit, won't they, Brisbane? But I think they've got the depth to cover in the short term.
And also, I've got to say, I reckon a lot of Lions fans, they love the fact that you got to interview both the Ashcroft boys.
That was good.
How good? What was that? That must have been you must have known them as little kids and everything like that. What was it?
No, because I'm that old and they're that young.
I didn't realise.
They were born after I had finished, so that's how old I am. But no, that's good. I mean, Becky and Marcus would be incredibly proud, as we all are, of our kids, but then to see them perform at such a high standard out there. And Levi, That's quite amazing. What he did against the Crows a couple of weeks ago in a practice match, and then backed it up with almost the same stats, and did a good job.
He just flies under the radar. He's one of those players that accumulates, and you don't notice him, which is a good thing.
He stays involved.
He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't look out of place, and you don't notice him, which means he's getting involved in the chains of play, and he's playing his role perfectly.
Should get the Rising Star nomination soon. Sammy Lawler got it this week.
It was as good first, like that Rising Star, could have gone to anyone.
Yeah.
Kid from Freo,
it's quite the field. It's quite a Melbourne Cup field this year's Rising Star. The other one was, of course, that what was it? The 10-minute blitz from, we were talking about Rising Stars, from Murphy Reid at Geelong. I mean, yes, Freo had a shocker and the Cats looked smooth, but geez, that 10 minutes, 4 goals in 10 minutes from the debutant, that was so much fun to watch.
So Fremantle foxed in their game against the Indigenous All-Stars, and then they foxed in round one as well.
Yeah, haven't they?
They were horrible.
Yeah, they were putrid. But you talk about new players as well. Bailey Smith coming in. Well, you said Dan Houston. The new players to their clubs, Dan Houston and Bailey Smith.
Bailey Smith.
What additions to put Bailey Smith into that team.
And there's talk of Jamara Ugle-Hagan wanting to go to Geelong next year.
They can't possibly. And Matty Rao. They can't fit them all in. But
if they do, then...
Bailey Smith, you forget how good he is because he had that time out of the game.
So he missed last year with the ACL, and the year before he had some time out of the game, didn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's probably 3 years ago. Like, he's only a kid still, but 3 years ago, he was slaughtering him on the wing. Now he's in through the middle and putting on a clinic.
As Chris Scott said, we recruited him for the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, just
that's where it's...
Another one for the Battlers down at Cardinia Park.
But that's where if you set up a great club, you become a club of choice where people actually want to go there because you can't guarantee anything, but you can pretty much bank that we're going to be in contention. If for some reason we're not this year, next year. So you can go down to play finals. You're probably not going to get the money to go to a bottom team. You probably go to bottom team, you get a bigger check. But I think, Rocky, as we know, I mean, you can slaughter your money on one bad investment, but you can't take those experiences of playing finals or get in a great club.
And the balance they get down there. So everyone talks about Geelong. They say that they get their work done within a really short time frame, and then they're out. So the work-life balance seems...
Scotty hates meetings as well, so they're short meetings and sends them home.
Speaking of great clubs, a future great club, here's hoping, Tasmania. Get a bit of an around the grounds update from the Tassie Devils. Was it 1 year today since they got the provisional licence? Is that correct?
1 year. So there's an event, birthday party in Hobart, where the I think they've announced, probably muck it up. The mascot will be unveiled, and the name of the mascot. So. Right. He or she or it will be rolled out tonight. So very exciting time. So there's plenty going on down there. Obviously, working through the draft concessions. There's applications coming in for list manager's job, general manager. I
saw that. I saw you put that up on Seek.
Yeah. So there you go. Just tossing it out there. So you put your application in?
I did. Yeah. I put you down as a reference as well.
Rightio. You'll be good for 3 quarters before you chuck your...
That's correct.
Chuck your toys out of the car.
Well, it's cheaper pay as well. You'd save a bit of money. I was reading some articles today. The stadium, that's all good. Your chairman, was it Grant O'Brien, says, no, it's happening.
Oh, we're very confident. Still got to go through the process. So 3 quarters of the way through... Parliaments has got to get passed by the upper house, but we're confident in the way it's progressing. And
the proposed draft concessions, this is what Caro mentioned.
Reported by Caro and the AFL media, I think.
The AFL media on, what's the show called? Agenda Setters last night. Free access to the best 9 17-year-olds across Australia in 2027. $1.2 million bonus sign-on fee outside the cap, full access to men's and women's Tassie Academy players, 8 first-round draft picks, of which a proportion must be traded out.
Just
Yeah.
Just promise me
Yep.
you won't spend the 1.2 on an NRL player. Surely that's over.
Or are you gonna?
Won't be my job or choice, but
'Cause-
I'll have a say in the list manager who'll be making that choice.
I
Maybe
don't
I'll
know.
chuck that into the interview.
I mean, Kalen Ponga is one of the best NRL players, and his contract's up at the moment.
Well, he
so-
trained at
yeah.
the Lions. I had
Yeah.
a training session with him at the Gabba back in the day.
He was offered a contract.
He almost signed, but
There you go.
obviously he's one of the best players there. So I think we can put that to bed, can't we?
Yeah, I think reasonably safe.
Stay away from
might we get a rugby union player
Well,
or something like that?
Oh, Seth. Well, stay away from Seth Campbell.
Jeez, he
Wasn't
well,
he good?
He looks good.
Yeah.
The other one footy topic before we
Yeah.
move on is the Archer one.
Yes.
Suspension, where we sit on that. If he gets 3 weeks, I can understand the Matrix has given him the 3 weeks, but you slow the footage down. In my opinion, he tries to stop. If you slow it right down, he takes one step, you can see his leg actually straighten. If you're sprinting, your leg doesn't straighten the way it does. Like he plants it and his second foot comes there. I think the Bulldogs players, Momentum and North defender, carry him forward into Archer. I don't know what Archer can do. Because if the Bulldogs player collects the footy, stays on his feet and coming at full pace, you need Archer to be attacking the contest with that speed he's going in.
Yeah.
He realises late that the player goes to ground. There's nowhere for him to go. He's not a pop-up sprinkler. He can't go under the ground. He can't dive over the top. I think we lose our fabric of our game if he gets suspended for that.
Yeah, we know. I think we all know exactly what the AFL are doing, trying to protect the head and concussion, how severe it is. I, like you, I think live, you think, my goodness, he's coming ballistically, but there is that split second where he does, try to pause. I think he'll get off.
I think he has to.
Well,
I think he'll get off.
for those of you playing at home, we're recording this Tuesday morning. The tribunal sits tonight, I think, Tuesday night.
It'll be over at 1 a.m.
1
It'll
a.m.
go for that long.
What I think this is, if he gets off, I think this is where the system actually does work. It's like the AFL can toe the party line and go, we don't like this, but we have a tribunal to assess it on the more day-to-day football method. So there's someone that can be a bit black and white to the letter of the law, but there is still a process to apply the practicalities of football,
Well, yeah,
which I think is important.
I think they're trying to protect themselves
Yeah.
from the ongoing head cases, which
Yeah,
you have to
absolutely.
do.
Important.
But I think they do that by referring it to the tribunal, and they say, well we've referred it under our rules, so we're doing the right thing.
If
The
you
one,
sorry, keep
the
going.
one live that I was watching, the Justin McInerney on Brandon
Yep.
Starcevich, and again, this is why they're doing all of this, is because Brandon Starcevich is in a lot of concern now, I think, for his head knocks and the fact that he's had another concussion. Live, I'm thinking, well, actually, I didn't even think there was going to be a report.
yeah.
It was just because it wasn't a heavy bump. But McInerney's coming in when Stars takes possession of the ball, then he fumbles it. And McInerney almost comes through, but I think essentially he was coming in to tackle him. So I'm a little surprised that the Swans aren't challenging that, but it reinforces how much of a concern is with what happens. There's a concussion with a player that's got some concerns now, and it'd be a tough one to flip over.
Well, here's hoping that Archer is off if you're listening to this on Wednesday.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this on Wednesday. If not, the discussion shall...
Well, it's going to
continue.
keep going anyway.
If he gets suspended, they're going to appeal it.
No, you'd think so.
In my opinion, if he gets 3 weeks and gets upheld tonight at tribunal, they're going to.
They'll be back on Thursday night.
Have to
Yep.
appeal it.
So
Absolutely.
they hang their hat on. He has paused. We'll try to slow up, and the push.
I think you get what they do. They get any reasonable high performance, whatever they want to call them, biometrics.
Biomechanic or something
to
like that.
come in and say, well, if someone's sprinting, this is what they look like. If they're stopping, this is what they look like. He is stopping.
Yeah.
So it's unavoidable contact, which happens in our game because we've got an oval-shaped ball that bounces every which way. You can't predict what players are going to do.
And it's another one where a player's got pushed into a contest
and that's right,
as well.
pushed into the contest.
Moving right along, before we get to our next segment, I just want to bring up a thing that's incredibly pedantic, but a lot of people agree with me.
This has got anything to do with Richmond.
It's got nothing to, well, sort of. It's got to do with the MCG, and it's got to do scoreboards. The MCG scoreboard this year is a disgrace. It is impossible. They have set it up in such a way that reading the score is actually really annoying. They've positioned it in a place where people in the top decks actually can't see the score. They've messed around with goals behind points. So for some reason, on one end of the scoreboard, the points total is up the top and the goals behinds are down the bottom. And they've just got really squashed up club logos rather than club names on the scoreboard. I genuinely think the AFL actually needs to have a standard scoreboard that is in plain packaging, so plain, simple and easy to read at all grounds, because the graphics people are getting so carried away with making it look smack bang. The scoreboard needs to be as simple and easy to understand. And the MCC, and I think some other grounds too, need to actually really think about you can have all the whiz-bang graphics and stuff, but keep the scoreboard simple. The scoreboard and the time clock needs to be simple. And there's a general consensus around footy punters that it's actually really hard to read. So please fix that up. And I've got to say, having watched some of the games on Fox on my phone and at the pub, I do appreciate the big scoreboard.
Now you like the
No, I did say that last week. Right. I did say that if I watched it on my phone and at a pub, that I think there's method to the madness behind that. And it's like, that actually works. And I did, if you listen back to what I said last week, I said the Fox scoreboard actually makes sense. But yes, a standard scoreboard, and I think players would be annoyed with that too. I think if you're playing on I don't know if you look at the scoreboard.
And you're watching the scoreboard?
Well, you got to keep half an eye on the scoreboard if you want to know. Did you not look at the scoreboard when you were playing? See what the score was?
I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I was the same.
No, I think it's genuinely a standard scoreboard at all grounds. You've got the big screens. Keep the graphics simple. It's very annoying.
Right, yeah.
This is AFL Unpopular Opinions here on Neds. You are listening to AFL Unpopular Opinions here on Neds. My name is Dylan Leach. We have Tom Rockcliffe. We have Alistair Lynch. We talk football. Boys, I'm going to do a little thing called Best and Worst. And in light of what transpired on Thursday night, it's not all about Thursday night, but it got me thinking about your careers and the unexpected wins and the unexpected losses, and I want you to remove finals from the equation, but having played in battling sides throughout your careers, the times when you least expected to win and the times you least expected to lose, and I think those games would always stand out in your head. So
yeah.
I just said, I want you to nominate one of each. So we'll start with you, Tom. What was a game you least expected to lose?
Least expected to lose? I think they may have even been in the same year. This is how hot and cold we were.
Yeah.
Was the first Q clash going down to the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Oh,
losing
So this was 2011?
Must have been 11, yeah. So maybe not our greatest win, might have been the year after, but 2011, so we should have beaten Gold Coast with what we had. And
under 19 team.
Yeah, Blackie got fired up, and I think he got probed to call them mercenaries. And
poor Blackie.
Well, that's not him at all.
No, it's not at all.
Wheeled out, and I think Lukey Power said some stuff as well, and it just wasn't them either. And I think hindsight, we probably would have downplayed it a little bit, gone out there and just let our footy do the talking, but they got the better of us that night. We got overwhelmed and away they went.
So you went head-to-head with Gaz?
No, I reckon Rainsy might have.
Oh, right.
I reckon Rainsy would have ran with him, but
Andrew Rains?
Yeah, I think he dominated. But then it was like Jared Brennan and Risha, they dominated us. Yeah. So the two blokes that left dominated. I think was it so Jared might have won. Who won the first Ashcroft medal? It may have been. May have been Jared Brennan.
It may have been because Risha obviously had won the previous year's best and fairest
at Brisbane, yeah.
Yeah, then moved down the coast.
Jared Brennan won the first.
Jared Brennan.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
I should have remembered that.
Do you remember what the response was in the rooms after that kind of loss?
Oh,
it was coach.
Vossi.
It
wasn't good. It wasn't good. Yeah. So 2011, yeah.
Lynchy, the least expected loss.
Least expected?
Yeah.
So 1991.
Loss?
At loss?
Yeah.
No, win. No, we're going win first.
You want to do win? No, we're doing loss first.
All right, loss first. All right. 1996.
Yep.
Last game of the year.
Home and away game?
Yeah. Right. Brisbane Bears playing the Collingwood Footy Club at Vic Park. We're on top of the ladder. So just sort of hands and heels going towards the finals. Playing against Collingwood. Collingwood had brought back two legends for their final game, Craig Kelly and Alan Richardson. And we just win this, we finish top and we're flying. And, got beat by 50. got beat by 50 at Vic Park, and that slipped us to third.
Yeah.
And just changed everything.
Now,
changed everything.
Surely, even back then, I know Collingwood were pretty ordinary in the mid to late 90s, but surely, as a team going to Victoria Park to play Collingwood, you would have thought, oh, maybe we should, they could possibly win, because the prospect of playing Collingwood at Victoria Park back in the day would have just been.
You would have thought so.
Like,
you would have thought so. That was a shocking mistake from
John
us.
Northey?
Yeah, 96, John
96,
Northey, Swooper.
Swooper, it was a shocking loss, really bad for us. I mean, we had some legends running around for the club back in those days as well. It was, Vossi was playing in that one. As I said, Gavin Brown, Scotty Burns, Gavin Krasiska, Tony Francis for
Collingwood, yeah.
Collingwood. Ackermanis, Ashcroft, Richard Champion, Matthew Clark, Adrian Fletcher was playing, Andy Gowers, the current Hawthorn.
Adrian Fletcher got 32
president.
disposals that day. There you go. Yeah.
Well, Fletcher's put on a
Jasper's
quitting. And then two other AFL coaches. We've got Vossi, he had 25. Chris Scott had 24 and 1. I reckon Chris Scott, he won the best and fairest that year.
Yeah, right.
Played mostly in the centre of
in
the ground.
96.
Lappin.
Wow. So a lot of Premier...
team.
A lot of
bad teams starting to come together.
And so that game, and then you played the 96 finals. Did you play? You played Essendon the following week, won by a point. I remember that.
Oh, it was that year?
Yeah,
okay.
96, yeah.
That's where...
And it was a McIntyre system too, so you didn't lose a week one home fight. You still got to play in the finals week one.
Yeah, but just not the way we wanted to. I think Gavin Wanganeen was running into the top of the goals and missed.
Great final.
Yeah, missed
Great
a
game
shot.
of football, that one.
And ironically, Essendon, some scars for them. They lost the following week.
Yes.
With the Tony Lockett kick
they lost
after
two.
the siren.
They lost two finals by a point that year. And of course, but you were able to redeem yourselves at Victoria Park in the very last game ever played there a couple of years later.
We got a win, did we?
You belted them there.
No, did we?
You don't remember that one? But I just find
I've got a good.
You must have been. You must have been that confident. I just think it's bizarre that you were that confident as a team.
We're nearly going to wheel him into the nursing home.
I know.
Bring the phone to
remember
stuff.
So
you can't bring up all these old games for him, Bill.
I know.
I have to hand the phone to the kids and say, look.
All right,
They reckon I played.
Let's do wins. Unexpected wins. Rock.
You go first.
No, okay, Lynchy. We'll stay with Lynchy while he can still remember.
Yeah, 91.
Before I forget.
So as I was going to go before because I forgot the run sheet. 91, we're last on the ladder, Fitzroy.
Yep.
Playing at Princess Park against the number 1 ranked West Coast Eagles.
And
West Coast Eagles go on to win the flag.
Mm-hmm. No, they didn't. Not in 91.
Oh, isn't it?
91. Hawthorn won the flag
As
that
I
year.
said, we've got to wheel him.
All right, they were going to win the flag the next year, but they were on top. They didn't win the flag that year. Oh,
no.
Buggered. Anyway, we rolled them. I played fullback that day on Peter Sumich. Can't remember that. Someone told me. But yeah, that was a great win for us. And so we jumped up above the Brisbane Bears for winning that game.
I'm just looking up the match. So that's round 24, 1991. Just 7,000 people at Princess Park that day.
Yeah.
You guys came back from 26 points down at half time to win that.
It's very fair to say that West Coast were thinking about greater games coming up over the next few
it's
weeks.
also the last game Matt Rendell played for the Lions, the late Matt Rendell.
Great Matty Rendell. Yeah, some great names in that team as well.
Yeah.
Iconic names like Richard Osborne was there, Paul Roos had plenty of the ball.
Yeah, no, Paul Broderick.
Brett Stevens.
Yeah.
Now, Brett Stevens kicked 5 goals. I noticed that. He ended up, and tennis followers would know this, he ended up being Pete Sampras's fitness coach.
Was that your favourite win at Fitzroy?
The probably favourite win was another West Coast game.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what year it was. We went over mid-year. We played at the Wacker. And again, West Coast were good. We weren't. We've rolled West Coast on a Friday night at the Wacker. We've caught the red eye back. We've had plenty on the way back. My wife's picked us up from the airport at, say, 6:30, so about 4 of us, and we went to Mount Buller skiing for the weekend.
There you go.
Those were the days.
That was good.
What a monster.
Ironically, it's through that period when Fitzroy were down towards the bottom of the ladder playing against the West Coast Eagles, we had a better record against them than they against us. One of those things.
Yeah.
We performed well.
I think historically there's always been a thing where a top team has always struggled against a certain bottom team, no matter where they are. But yeah, and I think Fitzroy had that with Adelaide, but we'll continue on.
And West Coast had it with us, the Brisbane Lions, when we were winning flags.
Chris Judd.
Chris Judd.
The Chris Judd game. Rock, your favourite least expected win from your career?
Well, 2013, can't go past it, and the context of the game as well. So is Blake Carousel a tight ass?
Oh, I don't know. Can't remember.
So 2012 Brownlow had a bet with him that would beat Geelong. He was a part of the Geelong coaching staff that year after $1,000. Anyway.
An off-the-record bet because you were on an AFL list.
No, well, we didn't. He didn't pay anyway. It was a handshake agreement.
Okay, all right.
This is what I'm asking because he never paid up. But the Miracle on Grass.
Yes.
So we weren't expected to beat Geelong. We were down the bottom. Well, we were starting to come somewhat a bit better. I think it was the year Vossi got sacked. And
your NAB Cup premiership year.
And Geelong were as good as anyone we've seen in the last decade. And I think, what were we, 40-odd points at three-quarter time?
Cats up by 38.
I think they got out to 53 or something at some point during the game, and Ash McGrath kicks a goal after the siren. It was just an incredible game. I remember walking back at three-quarter time. I was playing in the forward line that night because we were a bit short, so Brownie was playing, but then I think I was coming out of the goal square and Zorks, and said to Zorks, full moon, boys, anything can happen on full moons, and pulled a rabbit out of the hat and somehow come back and Ash kicks a goal.
And that was his 200th game.
200th game. Yeah. So Geelong, they were up and they had a chance to ice it. I think Selwood played on, kicked it to Dawson Simpson, who then played on and handballed, and then the transition of the play just coming back the other way.
Actually, I remember watching that last quarter over the summer. It was on Fox and just flicked over and it was on, and I watched that last minute. I texted you going, that was just, the first time I've seen it in ages. It's like, that is some of the wildest football you'll ever watch.
And
just
Dan
wild.
Merritt almost accidentally played on, didn't he?
He did. He played on.
So, accidentally though.
So he took
an play on.
Intercept mark. So Tom Hawkins had a set shot, missed, and then gave us the footy back, and then they turned it over again, got it back. Dan Merritt takes an intercept mark, goes to play on, gets called, and then forced to go. Yeah. Had that not been done, I think he handballs it to Elliot Yeo, who then gets it to Patfull or Blackie. Yeah. Must have been to Blackie, who gets it to Patfull, who kicks it to Adcock, who gives it to Zorko coming past, who laces Ash McGrath out, 50 out, and just flushed it. And it looked like it was hitting the post and then just curved in.
Perfectly called by Hutto.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect.
He's a Geelong man.
Two of his best calls have been when two of Hutto's best ever calls have been when Geelong gets their heart broken, because there's Nick Davis and there's Ash McGrath. Yeah. That just speaks volumes of how great Hutto is.
Yeah. So if Blake Carousel is out there, pay up.
Pay up, Blake. Yeah. Tom doesn't forget. Tom's doing my taxes. He keeps receipts. That's outstanding. Outstanding. Also, with the Miracle, before I move on, do you reckon, because you played with Blackie and Brownie and some other premiership players in that game, that'd be right up there as some of their favourite. Well, that's got to be right up there with their best memories at the Lions.
Just the whole, I would say it'd be Ash McGrath. He played in a premiership, but he had all his family there in a box. Yeah. He takes a mark, goes back. That's what you literally, when you're a kid, kicking the footy in the backyard.
To win the game.
You talk to yourself. Well, I used to. Maybe I was a different kid, but go back, and that's the one you want. You want the set shot after the siren from 50 and flushed it.
From 50.
So,
because the mark was on 50, wasn't it? Yeah. So it's a thumping kick.
No, the unexpected wins are definitely, and losses are some of the worst heartbreak and the greatest joy that football brings. Time to wrap up now on AFL Unpopular Opinions. Don't forget, the snapshot does drop on Wednesday. Tom and Ryan will go through all over the best of the footy betting and have another crack at a multi this week. You did all right on your end, but Ryan
I went
tipped West Coast
safe last week. Yeah, Ryan let us down, but he went for value, so I'm gonna get a bit of value this week.
I know Ryan.
We got players markets this week, which is my wheelhouse. So.
And there's we'll also go. I think he's going to go over the biggest betting upsets as well, so it'll be a fun listen.
Well, it was a funny, not to venture too far to the NRL, but they had a massive upset as well.
Yeah, it's over Penrith blew it against the Roosters.
They were, I think Roosters were similar odds, $11.
Imagine if you backed Richmond and the Roosters in the same thing. Oh, that would have been
bit of juice about that.
Oh, you'd be certifiable if you've actually made that bet.
That's one you'd go if you had the Grace Sports Almanac and go back in time to wager, but you can't do that. What are we looking forward to in round two? Round two.
Thursday night for me. Can't go past that.
Yeah.
Carlton,
Hawthorn are up and
Hawk
about.
ball.
And Carlton need to respond, and they need to bounce back.
Is SEN doing a Carlton call? Is it Blues Radio returning?
I'm not sure.
I doubt it.
Damn it.
But
I'll be tuning into SEN if the result goes a certain way, that's for sure.
I don't think. Well, you'd have to pick Hawthorn. Like, it's hard to see Carlton winning that game, and then imagine the pressure coming for that footy club.
I mean, Carlton players play like your coach. Just
tough.
One of the big thing was Vossi, just compete. And that, I think,
and don't rely on Cripper.
That was what was missing late. Just lack of want to compete. It was shattering. So I agree with you. Massive game, that one. Port Adelaide, Richmond.
I'm looking forward to
it. There's a bit in that. Port Adelaide, Richmond.
Now, if the Tigers win that,
well, if the wind's blowing over there and they win the toss, they should kick with the wind. Richmond.
Yeah.
As a rough rule of thumb. Another one.
I think Port went on to some really good things after that finals win as well, didn't they?
Well, no.
Yeah.
They didn't get it, but if Port lose that, good luck.
They can't.
Hey, congratulations to Josh Carr, who'll be starting next week.
Can't lose that.
Now, I will be tuning into 5AA if that happens, that's for sure.
Yeah, that might be worth doing. The other one I'm looking forward to, the final game of the round, Fremantle, Sydney.
Yeah, intriguing.
I mean, 0-2 Sydney, and they haven't been too bad.
Do they make the swing? McCartan go back?
Yeah, I think so.
Has to, doesn't it?
Just stiffen up the back line. Just get that rock solid and just work it out forward.
Well, that's what you want, don't you? You want to defend first, make sure you're really hard to score against, and then springboard off that.
Yeah, I think they've got to.
Two games I'm looking forward to this weekend outside of my own team. I reckon Essendon and Adelaide on Saturday afternoon will be intriguing. The Crows, if the Crows are serious this year, they will win in Melbourne and they'll win at the MCG. So that'll be good to see. And I thought the Bombers weren't too awful on Friday night.
No, they were pretty good.
And Kako's exciting, got plenty of excitement. So that'll be an interesting game, and nice to see the red ball being kicked around the MCG. By the way,
Wasn't many red balls used over the weekend.
No, not many. Even though there's plenty of daylight. And on Friday night, the Western Bulldogs and Collingwood clash, more for the historians of the game and people who are into their footy history, because that is actually a special match on Friday night. Because the Bulldogs will be playing as Footscray on Friday night because they're celebrating 100 years in the league. So this year we've got the Bulldogs, North Melbourne and Hawthorn celebrating 100 years since they joined the AFL or VFL from the VFL.
The AFL's only been going for 25 years or something,
about 35 years.
You should be encouraging it just to be that time period, because Richmond are probably one of the most successful in the AFL era.
We are. But no, so it's 100 years of the Dogs in the league. So they're going to have a lot of festivities, and it's good to see the name Footscray.
It is great. It is good. You know, Fitzroy merged with Footscray once.
I'm aware.
They were almost...
You were dead set. You were going to be a Fitzroy Bulldogs player.
Yeah, they merged the clubs, and to the Bulldogs' credit, they demerged it and raised the funds to keep going.
Yeah, so it's
great celebration.
Yeah, no, fantastic story. If you ever want to know a really good sports story, how Footscray fought back from that is quite amazing.
I thought you were going to say the St Kilda winning streak of 04.
Oh, the St Kilda winning streak. Oh, yeah, no, we've got that up here. Oh, if you want to see what a great football dynasty looks like. But if Saints fans actually watch that on Sunday after a bad loss just to cheer themselves up. After the 96 Ansett Cup. All right, time to wrap up here on AFL Unpopular Opinions. Rock, thank you.
Thanks, Dill.
Lynchy, thank you.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website